welcome to Scrollin', a podcast about the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm Ket.
I'm Davius.
This is episode number 55.
At some point, we need to assign a type of liquor to each ESO race.
Okay, let's see. Dunmer, I think, is probably going to be like brandy or something like that.
Okay, Dunmer brandy. Yeah, that checks out.
Nord's mead, obviously.
Obviously, the mead. What would the
High Elves is like either probably like a champagne or like a white wine of some kind.
White wine, wines and champagnes is definitely High Elves.
Perhaps a Zinfandel.
A Zima.
A Zima. Does that still exist? Zima Princess Warrior?
I don't think Zima's around anymore. I don't think so.
Shame.
It died with Crystal Pepsi.
What else? What's coming to mind is maybe like a brown ale.
Oh, you think they're drinking like the heavy stuff?
Well, like, a beer of some kind maybe. I don't know.
This is harder than I thought it would be. I don't know if I know enough.
What else seems hard?
I don't know if I know enough alcohol types to assign to as many races there are. I feel like Imperial would get beer.
Okay. Sure. Like an Imperial Stout.
Imperial Stout. There you go.
There we go. Barley wine for Wood Elves. Okay.
That's pretty good.
I can buy
that checks out. That checks out.
I like that. This is all going in the podcast. This is quality content right here. Gold.
This is what people are going to listen for.
This is what the people come to the Scrollin' podcast for. What if each race were a drink? What would they be?
What would they be? What about Redguard?
What's that one drink that's not like even alcohol? It's like some other weird thing and it makes you hallucinate. Absinthe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Redguards are they're all about absinthe.
I feel like that could go for the
Khajiit.
The Khajiit. I was gonna say the lizard. Why can't I think of their name?
Argonians.
Sorry, that's your favorite race. I forgot. I don't know why I forgot them. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm not passionate about them necessarily. Argonians are. It's like their drink is like ayahuasca.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like Amazon jungle tribes. It's like an ancient hallucinatory like concoction that they make.
Wouldn't be illegal nowadays.
Probably not.
Johnny Walker Blue for Bretons. That's what Dr. Professor says. That checks out.
Okay, sure. Okay, I like the specific brand.
Very specific. They only drink the Johnny Walker Blue.
I like that.
I'm gonna go rum for orcs.
Okay. Or what's grog? Let's see. Grog.
They say, they talk about that all the time.
Grog is any variety of alcoholic beverages. Okay. It's just grog is just like booze. It's like another word for booze, I guess.
Could you be slightly more specific?
So, yeah, I think that's good. Orcs grog. Perfect.
Perfect. I could see them rum. They're having a good time.
Rum seems good. Sure. How's the BGs been going? Have you been getting in on this Midyear Mayhem action?
I have. BGs are going well.
I wish we could play more. Our schedules are all weird where we
got to figure this out.
Hardly ever get to actually join up and duo anymore.
That being said, you did recommend to me the solo queue is a little bit more of a relaxed BG.
You've been doing some more solo queue here lately?
I've been doing the solo queue, and I can't agree more.
Although, during Midyear Mayhem, I feel like it doesn't really make a difference.
That's true. Right now, just throw all this data out right now. Just throw it all out.
Yeah, it kind of is mayhem because there's just like a huge influx of players who normally don't do a lot of PvP, and I think a lot of people don't even they're not even paying attention about group queue, solo queue, whatever. It's just Battlegrounds Q button. Let's go. Let's get the daily done. So it all feels like the solo queue right now, unless you're actually in a pre-made and the matchmaking system is putting you up against other pre-mades, which you have some experience with that the past couple of weeks, haven't you?
Yeah, I sweaty pre-mades. I grouped up. We're in the that BG guild It's really PvP guild, but it's a PG main.
They're very
lane.
battleground centric. Yeah, for sure.
Adastra, and I grouped up with some people in there. We did some pre-mades, and I was on Davius, my Magicka Templar, my main.
Healer.
It was pretty awesome. His build, it's the 5-piece Spell Power Cure, 5-piece Powerful Assault. That's the main part of it. I do the mythic item Pearls of Elnafey just for some extra ultimate.
I'm pretty sure I haven't met anyone else using that item so far.
I'm the only one out there. That's where old Davius likes to live. I like to be the one if I'm the only one using that set or item.
Makes it all the more enticing.
Yeah. I do the Maelstrom Resto on the back bar. Anybody that listens to the cast knows my history with that thing.
Your most prized possession.
My most.
In real life and in Elder Scrolls.
Exactly. The children fall just short of that one. And then I do 1-piece Swarm Mother just for extra stats. But this build in a pre-made 4-man group for BGs is really where this build shines. It's a healing build. I still do 0 damage with the build. It's just all heals and buffs. And
it's literally like the number 0 on the scoreboard the end.
I use the Sigic ability that turns my light attacks into heals, so that's why the damage it's a goose egg. And the big thing about this build, when you're in BGs, and we do BGs enough that our MMR is pretty high, and you're doing 0 damage, you have to bring something extra if you're going to do 0 damage. You got to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And that's where this new setup with Davius has really come through, is that the amount of buffs that he's bringing to the team plus the heals is making up for that 0 damage. And they did pre-mates with some Adastra people, did quite a few, and it was awesome. I mean, Adastra, the group stuck together really well. They were all within healing distance. I got the buffs up.
All excellent players. It's such a good players. Feeling. It's such a good feeling to be playing as a support and being on a team of like extremely competent players. Like, it's so fun.
I joked it's the ultimate carry build. This build is designed to force my team to carry me. They would carry me no matter what, but this build forces the other players to carry it, and we had some really great results. People were just.
How much total weapon and spell damage are you giving to your teammates?
It gives 737 weapon and spell damage to the whole team, myself included. So
that's with Spell Power Cure and the Powerful Assault combining.
Yep.
And that alone, like, we were talking about that the other day. Like, if I was built like as a purely defensive build, and then I was only getting my damage from your healer build there, that would probably be pretty sweet. Like, pretty sufficient damage, and I'd be hard to kill.
I mean, that's a lot of weapon spell. I mean, you got to think that, the highest weapon and spell damage sets out there are those 600, sets that only give it to one specific, whether it's two-handed or, dual wield abilities. And this is given 737 weapon and spell damage to everything. So it's pretty massive. Most 5-piece sets you're going to get, 400 and then some negative, or, Julianos is, we always use that as our median. That gives you 300. So it's a massive buff to a whole team. And with that Adastra pre-made group, giving them that much extra firepower, it was a lot of fun riding that roller coaster. I bet those guys were
having a lot of fun with all that extra
riding that roller coaster was fun. It was a lot of fun to watch that happen. They were doing pretty ridiculous damage. And this build, the heals are still really great. That Pearls of Elnafey works out perfectly, where I'm popping that Resto ult all the time. So the heals are really good. Templar's skill set with heals is great. Cleansing. It worked out really well. It was a lot of fun. And this one wasn't even really planned, but a great kind of combo to this build that works fantastic. To get Powerful Assault up, I have to do... The only way I can get that one up is Echoing Vigor.
It's the only ability that really makes sense for you to use.
Right. And so that's the Vigor morph that heals the whole team. So that's the one I use to get the Powerful Assault buff up. But I also have Repentance slotted. So, anytime my team is getting any kills, I'm just using that repentance ability. My stamina goes all the way back up. I'm almost spamming that echoing vigor. It is so easy to cast that because my team's getting so many kills, and so I'm just doing repentance, and plus that repentance is a great heal. So it's kind of nice how it kind of is this circle that is just constantly kind of feeding sustain and things like that. It works out really well.
Yeah, it's really cool. We talked a few episodes ago about how ever since the Flames of Ambition patch, it's really enabled builds like this where you can afford to spend that stamina.
Yeah.
And you have 1,000 more weapon damage than you used to have, so it's actually not a bad heal even though it's stamina based and you're a Magicka build.
Yeah,
it's a really cool meta that we're in right now.
Yeah, and those buffs, as I said, they're giving it to me too. So I'm also getting 737 weapon and spell damage to my heals, and so those are kind of ramping the heals up as well as the team ramping the damage up. There were some pretty ridiculous damage numbers that pre-made was posted the other day. It was a lot of fun. Plus, it's always fun. There was a little moment where everybody was saying, all right, with Davius buffs, this is how much weapon damage I have. With Davius buffs, this is how much spell damage I have. It was pretty fun to see everybody go in and kind of recalculate their build based on what the Davius buffs were.
That's cool, man. That sounds like that was finally the real true test for that build.
That was.
That's cool.
I'll say this, right after that, I think the next day after that pre-made where we did all those, I went and fully golded out the build. Every piece went and golded out. It was like the final, all right, I'm ready to
I'm surprised it wasn't already.
It was recently changed. That's the only reason. But Davis, he's the main. We'll talk about. I don't know if he's just single-handedly my main character anymore. I'm kind of leaning towards a new favorite character, but
I know that feel.
Yeah, you've been there. I'm experiencing what you experienced a little while ago.
Yeah, you can have multiple mains. It's fine. I've been getting in on the Midyear Mayhem action quite a bit as well. I actually have been contributing to the problem and have been playing on my Stamina Sorcerer a fair amount here lately. Well, I've been avoiding it because I myself have been pretty sick of seeing Sorcs of every variety, but I got into this conversation with someone a week or so ago, and it was a friendly conversation, but this person was a StamSorc main, and they were trying to make a case that StamSorcs lack survivability and that they need some buffs in that regard. And I was of the opinion that no, they don't.
No, they absolutely not.
So we went back and forth quite a bit. Never really came to an agreement. I still came away feeling the way I felt. They feel the way they feel. And I kept thinking about it, and I was like, well, I really haven't played with StamSorc since Flames of Ambition dropped. I see a lot of successful ones out there, but I myself, I haven't really played them. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe if I jump on mine, I'll see what this dude's talking about.
I love that you were kind enough to give it a chance. All characters got a massive stat increase. Maybe something happened with StamSorcs that didn't make them better. It's very nice of you to go and do the research.
Well, it's just an excuse to play the StamSorc too. It's been a while, and let's just see what happens.
There's the truth.
And man, yeah, I'm more convinced than ever that StamSorc, they need no buffs. Sorcs of any kind, they need no buffs whatsoever. They're totally fine. I got a zillion kills, 0 deaths every match. Well, granted, it is Midyear Mayhem, but I've been playing with a lot of different characters. I can compare this dude's performance to my other characters' performances, and he's doing extremely, extremely well. With all the extra max Magicka that we have now, man, this build is so good. So let me remind people of the build really quick. It's Davies, you have a similar build. We call these the Torque Sorc. A Torque Sorc is basically just a StamSorc that's wearing the Torque of Tonal Constancy and whatever else. So this build is 5 pieces Briarheart, 5 pieces Sword Dancer, which is the dual wield set, with precise daggers on the front bar, an infused Master Bow on the back bar, 1 piece Molag Kenna for extra weapon damage, and the Torque of Tonal Constancy. And that's the mythic item that when you dip below 50% stamina, you get extra Magicka recovery, and then vice versa. You dip below 50% Magicka, You get extra stamina recovery. It is ideal for a StamSorc because their whole play style, they're constantly bouncing back and forth between Magicka stamina.
Yeah.
That's like what they do. So it's really, really good for them. I thought I would just mention what his offensive combo is. It's really easy. It's poison injection to proc the master bow and the weapon damage glyph, and then swap to the front bar and just start hitting them with the rapid strike spammable. Or if Dawnbreaker's up, hit them with Dawnbreaker, then rapid strikes, then spin to win. And you notice I didn't say anything about stunning the target during that because something I've been doing here lately, and it's been helping me out quite a bit and helping me get the more difficult kills quite a bit, is I'm saving my stuns. When I'm attacking someone, when I'm trying to kill them, I don't stun them unless I really feel like I have to. I try to kill them without stunning them first. So, I hit them with poison injection, and what you might think is go ahead and streak through them to stun them and then really lay into them. I would say try to save that stun. Hit them with poison injection, and then just whittle them down with your spammable. Hit them with your ultimate, which I'm using Dawnbreaker. That would stun them anyway. But the point is, if you stun them right away, if they're a fairly good player, you're giving them CC immunity, and they're going to take advantage of that. And they know how to turn that fight around on you in that case a lot of the time. Whereas if you save that stun, you whittle them down, wait till their health bar is maybe around 50% or so, then stun them, then ultimate, then really try to go for the execute, while they're weak and vulnerable, you have a lot better chance of sealing that kill. If it's a squishy target or a player that's inexperienced, you're probably going to have no problem killing them without stunning them. And if they're a good player, you're probably going to have to save that stun in order to finish them off. So I've been trying to do that with all my characters, and it's paying off really well. It's like a little bit of discipline that you have to put into your play style, because for the longest time, anytime I jumped into PvP, it was just like constant panic mode. And as soon as I see an enemy, stun them, just to give myself a moment to think about what I want to do next. But, like I said, I'm actually the good players. In that case, I'm actually giving them a huge advantage and all the incentive in the world to actually come at me even harder now. So anyway, StamSorc, extremely fun. This build, man, a StamSorc with the Torque of Tonal Constancy is just such a beautiful thing. There are really 4 elements, I think, to the whole setup that just make it like music. That is the Torque, the ability Dark Deal and Streak, and Roll Dodge. Yep. Those 4 things always working together basically means that I always have an option. No matter what's going on, no matter what situation I'm in, I'm going to be able to get out of it. I'm going to be able to react and respond in some way, and you're just never tied down. So say I'm in trouble and I'm trying to run away from a team or something like that, so I can just spam Streak a whole bunch of times. And then when my Magicka gets low, I get a whole bunch of extra stamina recovery. So if I still need to get away, I can just start spamming Roll Dodge instead because I have the stam recovery to support it. And then when my stamina starts getting low, of course, my Magicka recovery bumps back up so I can go back to streaking again. And then, of course, I always have Dark Deal to kind of tip that scale in a particular direction anytime I want to. So it's just, all of those things working together at all times. They're really, I can keep my pedal like pegged to the floor, like pretty much at all times. And I always have a resource. I always have something that I can do to get out of a situation or go on offense or do something. So that's what I've really been liking about StamSorc right now, especially with these stat increases that we've been talking about and the torque and just the toolkit that they have. It's
such a strong kit. It's really just Sorc right now is such a strong kit.
Yeah, it's so good. And, it's a really fast-paced, like high mobility, high action play style, but it really feels like kind of everything else is in slow motion, really. It's like I imagine like I'm just hearing like this beautiful like Italian opera. And my StamSorc's name is Tane, Tayne, all caps. He's a very all caps kind of dude. But he's just kind of gracefully soaring through the air and spinning, and doing things as this beautiful music's playing. It really kind of feels that way. It's just so perfect. Briarheart, has been like fused to his skin pretty much since I equipped it. I don't think it's going to come off. Although a guildmate did recommend using deadly strikes along with sword dancers so that your rapid strikes will just be like outrageously strong. That's tempting, but I think I'm going to stick with the Briarheart just because it's too perfect for a StamSorc.
Yeah, it's everybody's got to go out and make the Torque Sorc. Go out today, get your Torque, get your Sorc, make you a Torque Sorc.
Yeah, if you have a Stamina Sorcerer, put the Torque on him. If you don't have a Stamina Sorcerer, what are you doing? I also wanted to say that because of that interplay of Roll Dodge and Streak and Dark Deal and the Torque and all that stuff, something that I find is that my situational awareness just goes directly down the toilet. Like, I just jump into
Who needs it?
Yeah, don't need it. I just jump directly into the stupidest situations, and like I said, I always have an option. I can always get out of it. It's not great for my team, though, because I'm fast. I'm a sorcerer, so I'm usually out ahead of everyone else, and they just follow me wherever I'm going. I'm basically leading them to their doom a lot of the time, and I zip right back out of there as soon as things get hairy. So I need to restrain myself and not play that way. It's easy to just kind of forget that you're on a team and play solo when you're on a Sorc. So.
If Tane has a home battleground map, like a home court advantage, it's that real tiny arena battleground.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Tane's home court advantage right
Any
there.
kind of like speedy roly-poly build, I love that map, man. You can just weave in and out. No one can ever target you, basically.
Yeah. And you're just going in circles. They can't keep up.
Yeah. And yeah, they blink and you're like on the other side of the map. They have no idea where you are. And it's a fun one. Yeah, man. I know last night we played a little bit and you were on Lord of Nords for a little bit. How was that feeling?
Oh, Lord of Nords, the Lord of Leaping himself. Kind of what I was saying earlier. I think I'm just ready to come out and say it. He's my favorite character right now. He's my new main. He's my favorite.
Davius Starjumper, out of the closet, StamDK main.
StamDK main. It's what it is now.
Wow.
I never thought the day would come.
I don't believe my ears.
But StamDK, it's just my favorite. Just a reminder of the build. It's 5-piece Champion of the Hist, 3-piece Potentates, 2-piece Bloodspawn, 1-piece Trainee, the Malakath Ring, of course, and then I do the Vatishran 2-hander as a back bar.
Nice.
And it's weird to say he's my favorite character because I'll be honest, he's not my best character, but I just have the most fun with him.
I get that.
He's just the most fun to play.
He's a dual wield on the front bar, right?
He is dual wield, and the switch from dual wield, because he used to be a 2-handed front bar, but the switch to dual wield is really kind of what took him to that next level for me. When I made this switch to dual wield, it just feels so much better. I can hit people. The spin to win is a great execute. It's AoE damage. That's really kind of what was the next step for him. And let's be honest, you play with me all the time when I'm on Lord of Nords and Battlegrounds, and you probably hear this firsthand. There's just nothing that feels better than a great leap. When you throw a leap and it's got good style, you're taking characters, you get that's the finishing blow.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing better than a good leap.
Well-timed, well-placed leap. Especially this dude that he's all about the ulti-gen.
He's leaping all over the place. There's a lot of leaps.
Yeah, there's a lot of leaps happening. It's cool. I enjoy rolling with that. I usually play a support when you're on that dude, and it's a lot of fun because he's just like this wrecking ball, and I just kind of follow behind, and you just kind of clear the path, and I'm in your wake there.
I love that it's become, when I'm on this character, that we'll run into a big old group. We'll even be outnumbered, and if I don't leap, if I don't leap over you into the group like ahead, you'll stop for a minute and be like, hey, what the heck? Why haven't you leaped into this group yet?
Okay,
what's going on? Why haven't we done this yet? He's just so much fun to play. He's, like I said, StamDK, we talked about that in the last episode. Not the best class right now, but
they're not.
He's a lot of fun to play. Probably the biggest thing I would say is a drawback for him, and I've mentioned this when we're in Battlegrounds, when you're in those really intense Battlegrounds and there's always that moment where all the teams are kind of holding back and they're all kind of just staring at each other.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of options there.
This character just becomes a target dummy.
Yeah.
I'm just staring at him. I can jump into the fight, but then you're just going to get hammered from all sides.
You have to know that your team is with you in that situation.
Yeah, and then when you're holding back, you're just a target dummy because I've got nothing. I don't have any range, so he's just kind of waiting. He's waiting there as a target dummy, but he's just. I still have the most fun with him. I'm still loving it. Outside that kind of first initial confrontation, once the battleground gets started, he's very bad at that first initial confrontation.
Yeah.
But once the battleground gets started and the fight's starting to start happening, he gets in a groove and he just starts leaping everybody.
That's cool. Yeah, it's always fun to see him in action. His outfit looks really cool. He's just like enormous and just very just a very bold looking dude.
I love your description of him as just pro wrestler.
Yeah.
He's just professional wrestler looking. He's got a mohawk. I mean, he is
off the
Lord
top
of Nords through and through. Yeah. Oh yeah.
The other character I've been playing with quite a bit in PvP is still my MagPlar, Butch Mahoney. I know my StamPlar Old Betsy is my main, but like my sort of like temporary main is this dude. He's just too good. Heartland Conqueror, War Maiden, with a sharpened lightning staff, and then a powered Maelstrom Resto staff on the back bar. One piece Vulcan Scoria for extra penetration, and Ring of the Wild Hunt. His combo is super simple. It's just Degeneration, Purifying Light, Toppling Charge, jabs. Or
jab,
Crescent ult, and then jabs. Yeah.
Just jabs times 5.
Just a lot of jabs. This is the perfect solo queue build, I would say. Like, if you're wanting to jump in the solo queue, you don't know what kind of teammates you're going to end up with. You don't know what to expect. This build is it, man. It kind of like we've talked about with MagPlar before. They're sort of equally good at offense and defense, and I've made this dude to be that. He's very good at offense, very good at defense, and whatever the team needs, he can flip into that mode, and he's as good as anyone at that, more or less.
This is probably, I feel like this, of all your characters, this is the biggest challenge to old Betsy, your Stamplar, that you've had in a long, long time. He's right up there with her. I can tell that he's kind of the magic version of Betsy, which I think helps with that. But
yeah, that does.
I feel like
that makes it. That does make him like strong competition for Betsy. Like when I'm in the mood for Betsy, sometimes I'm pulled to log in with this dude instead because he has this similar speed. He has a very similar play style, but he's also a super effective healer when I need him to be, and that's something Betsy just can't do. But Betsy does have she has something special.
Sure.
But yeah, this guy's close.
And that's a huge thing, I think, because I've seen, I've played with you on this build, and I've seen him wreck and do crazy damage, but when the team calls for it, I've seen him fall back and be, a full support for the group in a fight, and he can do the heals.
Yeah, there's been times when we'll have like an initial encounter that like doesn't really go well, and they'll be like, all right, I'm just going to be a healer this match, and I'll just stay on my back bar pretty much the whole time. And it's nice to have that option and to be effective at it, like as if I had built him to be a healer. It's really the power of Heartland Conqueror, man. It's like it's such an awesome set for that very reason, because it's just a quick bar swap, and now it's like a different build almost.
I've got to find a character to throw Heartland on. I still haven't put Heartland on a character. I've got to find a character to throw that on.
It's such a good set, and so many different options. You can work it in a lot of different ways. So I don't really know what more to say about this dude. I've been talking about him a lot lately, and I think everything there is to say I've said about him, but at the same time, he's the guy I've been playing with probably the most overall. So I just wanted to mention him. But really, the StamSorc is kind of has taken my interest again. I know I'm part of the problem now, but God, it's just so fun.
Yeah, I blamed you for this, and you made me log into my StamSorc. I had not logged into my StamSorc in a long time.
Yeah, we did some duo StamSorc actually last night.
We did a couple matches. Now I'm already coming up with adjustments, and now I'm going to tinker with the build. It's like you woke up the StamSorc character, and
that's always the danger. You play just one match, and now you're hooked.
I'm happy and mad about it at the exact same time.
Elder StamSorcs online. We do need to do some more duo TorqueSorcs again, and we need to take those two into Imperial City. I feel like that duo is really fun in Imperial City.
Fantastic in Imperial City. And we've talked about this. I feel like it has to be said. The unblockable stun on Streak
ridiculous.
is it's just so unnecessary.
Even Sorcs agree.
It's not needed. Sorcs they really are a good character. I know we like to tease them and stuff, but they really are a good character because they're really crazy dangerous behind a good player. If there's somebody that can drive a Sorc, specifically a StamSorc, if they can drive that character, that's what makes them so crazy good. It still requires a good player behind it, but man,
for me, it's like the popularity is what makes them bad, like makes them a pain to deal with. Like 1v1, I don't find Sorcs very difficult to deal with at all. Like most of the time, I feel like if I'm on a stamina like melee character, 1v1, I can kill almost any Sorc. Like I think like rock paper scissors, they typically lose in that scenario. But it's like when Sorcs get just a little good, then a lot of people start playing them, and like when there's say three enemy sorcerers on a battlegrounds map, it feels like 15 sorcerers, you know.
Yeah, you can't get a hold of any of them. You can't touch it.
Yeah, that's when it becomes a problem. Like 1v1, really any meta, I've never found sorcerers to be the biggest problem, really. It's just like their popularity is what makes them a problem. That's kind of all I wanted to talk about for BGs and stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on there?
No, I think pretty much covers it. You know, the Mayhem event is just the Midyear Mayhem is just always a fun event. It's a lot of fun.
It's fun. It's bittersweet because this is an event where it's easy to forget that you're not as good as you think you are. You know, like it goes on just long enough.
Yep. Like
that you forget that the event is even happening, and you're just like, oh, this is just what PvP is like. And then the event ends, and it's back to reality, and you know, it's not quite as easy as it was during the event. You got to work a little harder for those kills.
Oh yeah, the week after Midyear Mayhem, terrible week.
Yeah. Well, what about Blackwood? I know you had already completed it last time we talked. Are you just completely done? You're back in East March, like back in your Nord Zone and all that?
We've relocated back to East March. Everybody's moved back. Don't worry, everybody. It's fine. You know, I gotta give some pretty major credit to Blackwood. You know, like we talked about, I completed it pretty quick, but kudos to this expansion. I mean, it pulled me in. I was doing the quest and it pulled me in, and that's why I completed it so quick. Is that you know, I got caught up in the quest and had a lot of fun doing it, and that's why I ended up getting it done so quick. Because I just kind of got on a grind and was having fun and got caught up in the story, and ended up finishing it quicker than I had even originally planned.
I totally agree. Like I was doing the main quest and just whatever side quests I happen upon along the way, and I've completed the whole zone. It's all done now. But it really ramps up at the end. It was a pretty just kind of, I don't want to say humdrum, but just kind of a pretty standard story starting off, I felt like. And then, yeah, that back half, man, things just get wild. Like spectacle, like more spectacle than I've seen in other expansions.
Oh, yeah.
Just some incredible set design. That part, without giving too much away, that part where you're like kind of in a vision of some sort, and you're standing in the white gold tower throne room, and there's the big hole in the ceiling with Dagon staring down, looking at you. Like, that was insanity.
Oh yeah, yeah, and same thing. You know, don't want to give too much away. If it's a spoiler, you know, mute this part or skip ahead a bit. But you know, even towards the end of the quest, you know, there's a part where Dagon's in the background just annihilating stuff. I just thought, man, cool. so cool. Just set design. It's really, really cool atmosphere that they put you in.
It's neat. It's neat how, yeah, it's like the environment that you're in and everything is pretty like basic up until that ending portion of the story, and then yeah, stuff just gets really, really out there. You had mentioned before that completing the side quests, you get rewarded for that in the final battle of the main quest. And I thought that was really cool. Like you sort of complete these side quests and you befriend these people and make allies with them. And then that plays into that final battle. There basically are like combat mechanics that are there that wouldn't be if you hadn't done those quests. So that's really, really neat.
Yeah.
Really clever, creative way to kind of make that stuff all interplay with each other. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of a simple concept of what they did there, but maybe the fact that they did it, maybe more so than any other zone, it really kind of brought the whole zone together for me. It gave more purpose to those side quests, that you did them for a reason that ties in. Such a cool idea. Fantastic.
And it made those side quests feel like they were really part of that main story,
Exactly.
It's all related. And I think that's always something they're trying to convey, but that did a really good job of kind of connecting those dots.
Yeah, for sure.
I met the Duke of Crows, which we've seen him in a public dungeon, I think in Stone Falls, is it?
Yep. Right outside that main town there.
Davin's Watch.
Yeah.
He was funny there. He's hilarious in this one. He hates mirrors. I thought it was just hilarious. Like he was like appalled that we had a word for mirrors.
Yeah, that we even gave him a name.
Yeah, he's like, terrible things. That was a funny little he was a delve quest giver in this go around. Yeah, that was really fun. I got a real kick out of him. Got me a companion.
There finally. It is.
I knew you were skeptical whether or not I was going to do it, but like I said, when I came across the quest where I would get one, then I would do it then. So yeah, I have them both now, Bastion and Miri. Miri is of course very much the cooler one.
I agree with that.
So I went with Miri, the Dark Elf, and my PVE main, the guy I was playing with, is my MagBlade. And so I don't know if Miri is kind of a Nightblade-ish sort of spec, so she goes really well with him. I like that. And my MagBlade Ged, which I'll talk about here in a minute, he has this really cool sort of like Count Dracula kind of look and vibe about him, and I got Miri sort of set up to kind of complement that sort of look, and she looks really cool too. I do find that I'm a little bit more into the companion than I thought I would be, just because it's a fun little thing to just tinker around with and put costumes on them and what are the different skills. And from a questing roleplay perspective, it's neat to have a friend to run around with and stuff. It's kind of cool.
What I'm hearing is that you're sold on companions. They're your new favorite. You're not even going to do BGs anymore. Companion meta grind. That's what ESO is now for you. Companions.
I'm just going to do full-time companion Twitch streaming. It's all going to be role play.
I will say that I've kind of done the same thing. I've had a lot of fun with companions in the design and making them try to complement the characters that I have them on. I agree that Miri is the cooler one. I end up using her for most of my characters. Plus, it carries over her stats. You get her stats on one character and it carries over, which kind of makes me think that kind of also helps that I'm only going to use Miri. But yeah, really cool. Having a lot of fun with it. It's just kind of a little extra little grind. I will say I'm impressed with just getting an idea. Like, it looks like it would take a long time to get these companions leveled up and to get them, they have a little meter on how much they like you. It seems like it would take a long time to get that meter maxed out, or even just them leveled up all the way. I've run around with my companion quite a bit and just done quests. Like I said, nothing major, but I feel like I haven't moved that stuff if any at all.
I'll be curious to see what the companion meta ends up.
Oh, I'm sure there's people out there that have already maxed it out. They've got the likable meter all the way up, but it doesn't seem like that's just a real quick thing. That's not something you can just knock out in a weekend. It doesn't seem like.
No, yeah, it looks like it goes along pretty slowly. So that'll be a neat little thing. I've kind of gotten back into PvE. Like, this Blackwood chapter and going through it all has kind of pulled me back in that direction. And now, when I log in now, I know we just got done talking about a lot of PvP stuff, but really, I would say at least half the time, the last couple of weeks, when I log in, I'm kind of feeling some PvE action. Even after I've completed Blackwood, I've been logging in with my PVE main, which is my Magic and Nightblade. His name is Ged, and I've just been queuing up for random dungeons just for fun. I don't even need gear. I'm just kind of doing some PvE for funsies. Big reason is because I got his build updated. He's been using a real basic PvE build for a really long time. I went back a few days ago, and I just to kind of reminisce, I listened to the very first episode or part of it of this podcast, and I was doing it all by myself back then. And I talked about this character a little bit, and I talked about the fact that he's been wearing Julianos and Mother Sorrow basically since forever. And I kind of went on about how really that's about the best possible 5-piece armor sets that you can wear on a Magicka DPS build for most players. You know, like if you're trying to optimize and be in a perfectly optimized group and set records and that sort of thing, you know, that's a different story. But most people aren't trying to do that. And if that's not what you're trying to do, a lot of times you might actually be harming yourself by wearing one of those so-called meta setups. You know, a lot of times just Julianos Mother Sorrow actually is superior. One easy example, I think, is like the Lord Warden fight at the end of Imperial City Prison. That's such a mobile fight. Like a lot of things that work really well in like a stationary boss fight hardly work at all on that fight. So something this is kind of tried and true and trusty, like Julianos, like Mother Sorrow, I think is about the best thing you can use in a fight like that. Now, Medusa was buffed greatly recently, and Medusa would be better than Mother Sorrow, but my whole thing with this build has always been the setup that I have seems good enough. Like, I don't want to grind for stuff that's going to be annoying to grind for if it's not going to totally change the game for me. And, you know, back in my PvE days, I was in like a couple of pretty hardcore PvE guilds. We did veteran trials and you know, hard mode DLC dungeon runs and all that stuff all the time. I was in there with Julianos, Mother Sorrow, and like Grothdar or Vulcan. You know, just a standard 5.5.2 setup, not even a Maelstrom staff on the back bar. And I always pulled my weight. I always did my fair share of the damage, even with other people in the group that had the fully, you know, perfectly meta setups. So I just never felt the need to subject myself to an annoying grind when this seems to be doing fine. So that's kind of where I'm at. He's still using Julianos, he's still using Mother Sorrow, but the build has been updated. So now he does have a Maelstrom lightning staff on the back bar, because, you know, you can get those from the normal Maelstrom arena now, and that perfected line of penetration does not matter. This is a back bar item. You're not going to be benefiting from that penetration most of the time, so I don't think that even matters. So that was a big incentive now that you can just get it from normal. I didn't mind grinding for it. 1-piece Slime Craw for an extra line of crit, and I did grind for the Harpooner's Wading Kilt. So that's an example of, you know, of me basically undoing what I was just saying about hating annoying grinds, because this was an annoying grind. But Dr. Professor's asking how long I stayed in Shadowfen. Man, I wasn't really keeping track of the hours, but I would say altogether, I would maybe guesstimate maybe like around 10 hours total trying to get that Shadowfen.
Was that like stretched
lead.
out over multiple days?
Yeah, multiple days. I would just kind of do a little bit here and there. That Shadowfen lead it's just tedious. You just have to loot a bunch of water nodes, and there were plenty. Like I was able to find plenty of nodes, but it was just like it just wasn't dropping ever. This has a really, really low drop rate, and it's just so tedious. It's just such a boring activity to do. Just loot this node, go find another one. Loot that node, go find another one. But at a certain point, it's like I'd already put so much time into it. It's like, well, I can't stop now. Yeah,
it's funny how much traffic that has brought to Shadowfen. Like Shadowfen is a hopping place nowadays.
It is. I like Shadowfen. It's cool, but yeah, it hasn't been quite. It hasn't been the hopping place in the past. That's for sure. So yeah, Julianos, Mother Sorrow, Maelstrom Lightning Staff on the back bar, 1-piece Slime Craw, and the Harpooner's Wading Kilt. Quick note about Slime Craw. If you didn't know, the 1-piece gives you a line of crit, right? And there are other monster sets where the 1-piece gives you a line of crit, but Slime Craw gives you more than the others. And I think that might be an oversight on Zos's part, because I think they standardized all these things a long time ago. You know, that should all be the same across the board. But Slime Craw gives you like 120 more crit than, say, like Ice Heart or something else that gives you a line of crit for a one-piece monster set. So just keep that in mind. If you're wanting a one-piece monster set to give you a line of crit, that is specifically the best one. Dr. Professor says maybe that they did that to make up for the minor berserk nerf. Yeah, maybe so, but like I always felt like they stand like one-piece monster set bonuses are standardized. You know?
They're pretty standard across the board. That's crazy. I didn't realize that about Slave Crow. I'm gonna have to check that out.
I mean, it only amounts to like a 0.5%, crit chance difference. But hey, I mean that's more than the other ones give you. Another thing too is I've kind of found the food that I wanted to use. A few episodes ago, when Flames of Ambition dropped, we were curious about, well, what food are PVE DPS builds going to use now? Because it kind of seems like investing in health is going to be a waste. If you already have the minimum health requirement, then using a food buff that gives you extra health might be a waste. And I've found that to kind of be true, and I've kind of found that what a lot of people are using are these blue drink buffs. The Magicka one's called Ghastly Eye Bowl, and the Stamina one's called Lava Foot Soup and Salt Rice. And they basically just give you your max primary stat and then recovery for that stat. So it's like Witch Mother's Potent Brew or Dubious Cameron Throne without the health bonus. But since it doesn't have that health bonus, it gives you more of the stats that it does give you. It gives you, more max Magicka than Witch Mother, and it gives you more Magicka recovery than Witch Mother as well. So I found that to be the right food to use for me. My max health is like right around 20k, which is plenty for PvE. And then my max stats look really, really good, and my recovery just feels super good. Harpooner's Wading Kilt. I want to talk about this for a little bit. Since I spent so much time grinding for it, we got to make content out of it.
You got to get something out of this thing.
I'm actually getting quite a bit out of it. So I guess the question is it good? My answer, short story, yes, it's very, very good. Compared to the alternatives. So I got this thing, and the first thing I did to test out, once I had the build all kind of done, what I did to test it out is I just started queuing up for random veteran dungeons. Twice in a row, I got White Gold Tower. So I think those are actually two like really good runs to kind of get an idea of how this build is performing, or how Harpooners is performing. So just a few examples. I reviewed some combat metrics for some fights. The Adjudicator boss, that's the kind of the first real boss that like locks you in those burning cages and stuff like that. It's like a big harvester boss. I had a 96% uptime on all 10 stacks for Harpooner's Wading Kilt in that fight. Pretty much, basically, I would say close enough to 100% uptime.
That's a pretty much 100% uptime, which is pretty great. Pretty
great. Now the planar inhibitor, that's the fire Daedra with that pinion in the middle. Very different. I had a 19% uptime on all 10 stacks in that one. And then I did on the second run, it was 28% uptime. So that's not bad. That's not nothing. But it makes sense. You're taking a lot of direct damage during that fight, right? That pinion in the middle is just constantly pelting you with fireballs. Those ads are being summoned. They're hitting you with ranged direct damage attacks. So you're just constantly losing those stacks. But 19% or 28% uptime really isn't bad at all. And even though I didn't have all 10 stacks the whole time, in combat metrics you can break it down and say, okay, well, how much of the time did I have 3 stacks or 4 stacks or 5 stacks? And with 5 stacks I had like a 64% uptime. And that's really, really good. I've talked to some people in guild chat and on the forums and stuff like that, and the consensus seems to be that if you just have 4 stacks, it's already outperforming any monster set with just 4 stacks. So I think I'm getting enough out of it. I mean, think about compared to Grothdar in that planar inhibitor fight, I would hardly be getting anything out of Grothdar. Like it's never going to be hitting the boss, really. That fight moves around so much. Yeah. So Molag Kenna, the final fight of White Gold Tower, 94% uptime on all 10 stacks on the first run. The second run we did hard mode. 86% uptime on all 10 stacks. Very, very good, I would say. And that's a fairly challenging fight, especially in hard mode. Although, actually, on this run, it really wasn't that challenging because we had a stellar group, especially the other damage dealer, which also happened to be a MagBlade. They just had an astronomical amount of damage, and that fight went quick. Even on hard mode, it was just like over in a snap. So that was cool. But the point is, it's pretty easy to keep a lot of those stacks in a lot of these fights. And even in the fights where you don't have all the stacks all the time, you usually are keeping enough of them where it's beating out the competition. It's beating out what you would probably get out of Grothdar a lot of the time. Even Vulcan Scoria, like if you're in a fight with a lot of adds, there's a good chance that Vulcan's going to proc on one of the adds and not even hit the boss. You know, like everything's situational, including this. I think this one, even when it's situational, it's still more useful than most other options. Mob fights range between like 20% up to 100% uptime. You know, just kind of depends on the mobs. Another important thing I wanted to mention is that it has a really cool visual effect. And I know that seems like not an important thing, but one of the coolest things about monster sets is they have cool visual effects. They add a whole lot of flavor, to your character. And so, say if you replace a monster set with Malakath Band of Brutality, you're just getting rid of flavor there. There's no visual anything. So I like the fact that this has a cool visual effect. When you gain these stacks, you get like surrounded by this kind of glowing blue smoke stuff. It looks really neat. So you actually are getting some sort of flavor out of it, which I think is cool.
I'm excited to see what this visual... I haven't seen it, so I'm excited to see it in action.
It kind of reminds me of some of the visual effects that you get from the Sorcerer's Toolkit, but like a different color.
Okay.
But it's neat. And like I said, everything's situational, right? Like Grothdar, again, like think about the Lord Warden fight at the end of Imperial City Prison. Grotdar's never going to hit that dude. You're never going to get anything out of Grothdar. Like everything's situational, and I think this is about the best option out there. And I know, like during PTS when they really nerfed this thing and it was looking like it wasn't going to be as good, we were kind of down on it. And we were like, why was it nerfed so heavily? But now I can kind of see, because even with that heavy nerf, it's still better than well. Better than pretty much anything else. So I've been really happy with it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We were talking about this PvE and you with the harpooners kilt and all that. It's kind of inspired me. I'm looking into possibly getting like a legit PvE DPS setup going. Probably going to be on Davius. He's my catch-all. Okay. But I think he could do, like I always joke that he has like all the skill points. So he's already got a good BG setup. He's got a great PvE.
Does that mean he's gonna stop being a PvE tank?
Well, he's got a great PvE tank setup. I really have all the gear for that and all set up. And so I think he's got the skill points. He literally has every single weapon maxed out, every single Templar ability. He's got all the skill points into all of them. So you've kind of inspired me. I want to see if I can get like a PvE DPS setup for him just to kind of test it out. I think, we were talking about this a while back. I think I'm going to try out the Thracian Stranglers on him.
Oh.
I kind of went back and looked at those, and with the, we talked about with the stat increases, maybe the changes to that is not too bad. Maybe there's a way to make
maybe
those
it's
work.
Workable now. Yeah, I haven't really went back to look at it since the stat increases. That's interesting. That is interesting.
I think I'm going to try to put something together with that and maybe try to get some sort of PvE DPS thing going.
Cool. I'll be curious to see how that turns out. Stay tuned for more on that.
Stay tuned.
I've just really been enjoying getting back into PvE and spending some more time with my good old MagBlade. This dude's my original main, the first character that I really got serious about and tried to like get good with. And since we've been really focused on PvP for so long and him being a MagBlade, he's just kind of been sitting on the sidelines. He doesn't really get brought up on the show all that much, even though he's a character that's very dear to me. So it feels good to kind of get back into PvE, get back into this dude and his build and really getting him figured out. I'm pretty sure I'm going to gold this build out. I think I'm going to totally gold the whole thing out. It's been performing well enough ever since Flames of Ambition, when we got the big CP rework. I lost a ton of DPS on this character, and this setup has pretty much given it all back to me. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Very nice.
There was a maintenance patch, nothing really worth getting into. They made a handful of adjustments for companions, and then just a bunch of other random fixes for like quests and animations and audio issues and different things like that. But no like actual real changes relating to combat or anything like that. And that's kind of what's been going on. Any other things you want to touch on?
I don't think so. I'm excited to. I'm hoping some of these random bug fixes. Things are it's a little buggy right now.
We could use 4 more of those random bug fix patches, please. Y'all got any more of them random bug fix patches?
Got some more of them. There's a couple bugs happening right now that are a little bit of a bummer.
There is a little jank, and I'm hoping maybe once Midyear Mayhem dies down, maybe that is somewhat responsible for it. But certain nights it's hard to play. Yeah, it's really hard to play certain nights. Emails and shout outs. No emails this week. Do we have any shout outs?
I'm gonna, we got Dr. Professor here.
Dr. Professor keeping the streak alive.
He's keeping the streak alive. I'm gonna shout out for being here with us live. I'm also gonna give him a shout out. I love Dr. Professor. Through the week, he'll throw in... I love
Dr. Professor.
There it is. It is it. I love that he'll throw in these... He'll throw kind of this little question or theorycraft into the Discord in the week, and it just spawns this whole spiraling conversation. I'm all for it, Dr. Professor. I love that you throw these in there, and then it just gets everybody involved. We just kind of start strategizing and going from it, and it's been a lot of fun to
it's a conversation starter. Yeah, you've been a great addition to the Discord for sure.
For sure.
It's been great. So thank you for that, Dr. Professor. As a reminder to anyone listening, anyone who joins the Discord, you can join in as we're recording, just like Dr. Professor is, and participate in chat. And Dr. Professor's chopping onions, he says. And it's a good time, as we talk about things, you can chime in, share your opinion, and it helps keep the conversation going, and it makes it a lot of fun for us. So just a little bit of incentive. If that sounds fun to you, then hit us up and you can join the Discord. You can email us at scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. That's scrolling with an IN. We'll invite you to the Discord. We can invite you to the guild if you want.
There it was.
If you want, ask us any questions, make any suggestions that you think, if there's anything you'd like to hear us talk about or anything like that. Scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. We do have a guild called Stoons Goons.
Hey, this guild's on the up and up. We got a new guild hall.
New guild hall. I will say the guild hall is so now the guild hall is Davius's primary residence. So if you're in game on PCNA, travel to @Starjumper's primary residence. That's the guild hall, and this place is really cool, but it doesn't present all of its coolness right away. You pour in and you look around okay, this place is kind of neat. But then you start walking around and you find these cool little pockets of these little scenes that you've set up. It's actually really, really cool once you start exploring a little bit. I love this one that you had. There's this area where you have that antiquarian house guest, and she has a table of all of her antiquity treasures that you found, and she's studying them and stuff. And it's set up so perfectly. It's such a convincing scene. And there's a lot of examples like that throughout the whole place. Really, really cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And then what I'm hearing this is the call. This is Ket's call. Everybody join up with Student Scoot. This is it. He's on board.
Yeah. You can join Students Goons if you want. It's just I don't want you to. If you have 5 guilds and they're all really good guilds, I don't want you to drop one of them to be in a basically inactive guild.
That's become my goal in life. Is for you to admit I'm not. That's my new number one goal in life. Is for you to say, Students Goons, drop a guild to join it. Here's
the thing. Like if you're in the Discord and you're like, hey, I want to go to the guild hall and check it out. I'm not going to be like, whoa. Are you in Stoon's Goons? You know?
Wait, let me check in game real quick.
Let me check the roster.
Are you
Sorry,
in
bud.
the guild?
You're out. I really consider the Discord to really be whoever's in there is really kind of the guild members is kind of how I see it. There's only 5 guild slots. If we didn't only have 5 guild slots, I might have a different attitude about it. But who was it? Was it Mowards or someone that was like, they came up to me in game one day. They're like, hey, I finally dropped one of my guilds so I could join the Goons. And I was like, man, I really hope it wasn't a good guild because we don't do anything really. Like, there's no real reason.
He joined up and you sent him out. You went, no. Go, get out of here. Go back. Go. Will they ask you back? Can you ask them?
All the things that we do, you don't have to be in the guild in game to be a part of. So that's all I'm saying. But it's a really cool name, a really cool guild hall. So we got to keep plugging it, even though it's a bad plug.
We'll get it right on the 100th episode. 100 episodes in, it's gonna be perfect.
At first we were really like pushing this guild thing. We were like, guys, we got a guild, we're doing it. We're gonna have events. It's gonna be awesome.
The events are still to come.
You know. We need someone to volunteer to like run the guild because I'm not going to do it. So
we need theme nights, a couple dungeon nights.
If someone wants to volunteer to just like be the guild manager or whatever you call it, like put the events together and make it all happen, that's great. Go for it. I'll take all applicants.
I did say we should do a character design contest, but you made it sound like that was a scam that I was trying to get gold out of.
You
people.
Just want everyone to see how cool your outfits are on all your characters. Want an excuse? No, we could do that. That's cool. I mean, grab the torch and go. If you want to organize that event, I'm not stopping you. Do it right now.
Oh, whoa. Don't throw that kind of pressure at me.
Yeah, see, you're all talk. Like one of these days, the Goons are going to be great. Not today, though. Certainly not today.
One of these days.
Probably not
coming.
Tomorrow either.
Don't you wait. It's coming.
Probably not in 2021. Scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. You could also hit us up in-game on PCNA. I'm at Kit Sparrowhawk. Davius is at Starjumper. I think that's probably the end of this podcast, don't you think?
That's a cast.
All right. That is, what was this? This is episode number 55. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.